But here,
Yeah,
what do you think?
Georgian Dream is repeatedly saying that once President Trump comes to office, and we touched upon this at the beginning of this conversation, that once Trump comes to the White House, because of some of the shared values or shared principles, um, Georgian Dream will have much better relations with Trump administration than it did with the Biden administration. And two points that they very often point out are one, the sanctity of the family. That's the value of Donald Trump. That's what they say. And second, what's the second one? There is LGBTQI propaganda. Um, in general, and they usually emphasize on propaganda for in underage minors. That's something that the GD is saying now. Um, However, they are building their message boxes. They're obviously missing out a few other important values and points that Trump emphasized on during his election period. One of them being Iran, and second one, China. Very big challenges. Middle East will be on President Trump's immediate decision-making list. That's for sure. Iran is a major challenge for the U.S. both current and incoming administration. So that's one point, and the second is, of course, China, which is the biggest threat, both economic and maybe potentially down the road even military threat to the United States. And everybody in Washington is talking about those two things. Now, what the Georgian Dream government has done, particularly in the past year, is not going to help GD's approach with Donald Trump, because in May, as you remember, Iranian president died in a helicopter crash, and Raisi and Prime Minister Golbakhidze went to Tehran to deliver his condolences to the Iranian leadership. And there are some pictures that are it would be very difficult to explain to President Trump. How is it that Georgian prime minister is standing next to Hezbollah and Hamas leaders after October 7th attacks on Israel? So that would be one point that I think is missing from the GD's message box. The second one is China, of course. During President Trump's administration first term, there was a major movement towards building this port on the Black Sea coast called Anaglia. Eventually, because of some subjective, objective, political, financial, all kinds of different issues, Anaglia port stopped moving forward. But the United States had a major stake and very obviously stated, publicly stated interest in building the port. And at the time, President Trump's Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo, even publicly said that the United States wanted this port to be constructed. So earlier this year, Georgian government signed a strategic partnership deal with China, which was very unexpected in many ways, because Georgia at that time was the strategic partner of the United States, something that has stopped about 10 days ago as a part of the policy revision from the United States toward Georgia. So that's another point that President Trump will have to hear some sort of arguments that how about China? How is it that you're getting so close to China when you're distancing yourself from the United States and the West? So we'll see where that goes. But those are the two things that GD says that Trump will be sympathetic to them because of the family values and LGBTQ propaganda. But they are completely missing larger points that President Trump, in my view, would care more about than family rights inside Georgia. And those two things would be Iran and China. And Georgi, if you want to add something, I think we have
No, I
a
absolutely agree with you. You know, the foreign policy priorities of the incoming administration and President Trump in particular are very, very well said by you. I mean, highlighted by you. And I think what the current government or Georgian Dream government has done for the last couple of years basically fully contradicts these priorities. And family values or LGBT rights are internal domestic issues in Georgia, and in any country that we are talking about. So it's not about that. The what is essential for the United States, I think, and for Georgia in this very crucial moment for global security, is partnership, honest and open partnership. At the moment, Georgia, with the current setup in the government, is not able to show, not only for the far away located countries, but also for close allies. And far away, I'm talking about not distance, but I'm talking about the political, connectivity of thing. So we had a strategic partnership charter with the United States, which was basically suspended some several days ago, and we've seen the statement of the State Department about it, which was a very sad moment for this country, and everybody who understands what does that mean for Georgia is very saddened, and we really understand that this move came after a long time, basically looking at what the current government is doing, and basically this decision was the last resort to show that this country is moving in the wrong direction, and that was done, unfortunately. But we cannot question the decisions of the United States leadership. When it comes to the regional outlook of how Georgia is basically perceived by the region, I would say that it actually plays a significant part, but in the regional affairs. But what is sad about it, that Georgia is not utilizing its potential, political potential, as well as some contribution, the potential for contribution for regional or international security. And this became evident for the last several years, as you mentioned already, and this cannot be seen from the side of the Western partners with applause. I mean, they invested in this country so much in the establishing the democratic institutions, in establishing the system of international security of this country, basically assisting this country in pursuing the policy of non-recognition of occupied territories, and helping this country financially, uh, in politically after the 2008 war.
It
So
was
Georgian
President
people,
Biden, by the way.
it
Yeah,
was President
yeah,
Biden, exactly,
at the
his
time.
visit, and yes, yes, an allocation of $1 billion. As I
From the
remember
Senate
this
side, I should
gesture,
clarify that.
I
Yeah.
remember this gesture actually that he showed like this. He said, and this is true. And basically, that's why the Georgian people are very saddened with the, freezing this kind of strategic relationship with the United States, because uh, most of the country doesn't want to be seen by our friends in the United States, or for that matter in Europe, as we are not really grateful for this assistance or help. We're very much grateful, but for some reasons we are not at the moment, are able to steer our destiny officially. That's why we're in the streets, we are demonstrating, we are protesting, and we want to bring this country back on track that will bring us to the west, not to the north.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would imagine, even though we don't know exactly what President Zurabishvili uh, told Trump, except for the readout or small comment that she made on social media after the meeting, which was that she had an in depth conversation with him and made him aware of the stolen elections. And that's the quote, stolen elections. So that's also an important choice of words, in my view. I don't want to get into any sort of conspiracy theories, but I think there is something to that, or at least for the consumer standpoint, reading that, it looks like it was chosen with a reason, for a reason. So that's another sort of separating maybe point for the Georgian Dream government. People are accusing them of stealing elections, and that would be a point to bring up and talk to President Trump about at some point, probably. My apologies with that. So very interesting. We should see how it all evolves. We did have one question, if you would like to take it, Georgi, which is, can we explain what's the benefit? There you go. What holds significant political importance for the United States in particular in advancing the objectives of America First policy? So, hey, but basically the question is, how would Georgia fall into Donald Trump's uh, idea of
America first.
interests globally?
Well, thank you for question. Della 20, whatever. And well, I would like to answer this question very briefly, but in a concise and but very clear way. Georgia simply is the golden gate to a huge region, which is Caucasus, South Caucasus, and the Northern Caucasus as well, which is southern Russia at the moment, and the vast heartland of Eurasia, which is Central Asia. Why it is important? This area is populated with more than 100 million, with 100 million population, plus it hosts a lot of mineral resources. Just to name the few, it has 6% of world oil reserves, which might sound not very much, but it is important if you want to regulate the global markets. And this area of oil exploration is basically invested heavily by the Western companies, including, if you're talking about the America First, we're talking about huge investment of Chevron in Kazakh oil, in the second largest single oil field in the history of mankind, which is Tengiz oil field in the Caspian. Plus, we are talking about the diversification of the oil and gas supply for Middle Eastern context. We're talking about Israel. Israel is getting its oil from Azerbaijan, not being dependent on the Middle Eastern oil, which is very important for the safety and security of this country. And if we go to Europe, we are talking about the substitution of deliveries of the gas, natural gas from Russia by Azerbaijan, and in the coming future, by gas from Turkmenistan. And by the way, Turkmenistan is the third largest producer of natural gas in the world. So we are talking about resources. And if we are talking about the America First of Trump and rivalry with China, we have to understand that for Chinese, this area of Central Asia especially is a very much important thing, because it's an important region and terrain. Why? Because of the existence of all sorts of resources that we're just talking about. And this is another source which is not connected to maritime delivery or maritime supply chain, which can be blocked by some other countries of the region we're talking about. Maybe, United States, maybe Japan or others. and this is safer for them in terms of the international influence, um, to have this kind of direct link to the Central Asia and its resources. And I would like to remind you that China is also heavily investing in the transportation infrastructure in the region, and very I think in spring this year or beginning of summer, if I'm not mistaken, they signed a very big contract between China, Kyrgyzstan, and Uzbekistan to build the railroad going from China to Uzbekistan and down to Caspian, which is the southern leg of the middle corridor that actually passes from Europe to China through the Caucasus and Caspian Sea and the Black Sea as well. So we are talking about a revival of the great game of the beginning of the 20th century for Central Asia, where countries like Georgia and connected to Georgia, Azerbaijan as well, play a key role, as I said, as a golden gate to this whole area, which is very important, very rich.
Yeah, and one thing to add to that, I would say I think you alluded to it, is access from Central Asia to Western markets, which Georgia
Exactly.
is presenting the route that bypasses both, whether it's energy or other trade routes, bypasses both China and Iran. I'm sorry, Russia and Iran. So that would be another point of interest that I would think will fall under Donald Trump's America First policy, to have um, countries, partners, friends in the region, which are giving America the opportunity to, again, avoid some of those countries that America will see as a challenge.
And there is also one more issue that I just want to briefly mention. The NATO recently, last year, they approved the Black Sea security strategy. And Georgia is a Black Sea country.
Yes.
So with the territory that occupied is which is occupied by Russia in the western Georgia, Abkhazia, and if you will connect this with the behavior of Russia in Ukraine and the occupation of the coastline of Ukraine and Crimea, for that matter, uh, that is very much important for the southern east flank of the NATO, security-wise, militarily.